I tell her
She
where
does.
to sit.
It's part of our relationship. She has a good side, apparently.
I do, and I'm deaf in one ear, so
Okay.
I
All right.
hear you better.
So, Jane Lynch,
Hey, why are you gonna wear those glasses the whole time?
do you want me to?
What do you guys think? Do you want to?
All right. Oh, wait, I'll put on, I'm trying to avoid intimacy with you because I'm so wild.
Yeah.
I'm so wildly
I
attracted
want to see the
you.
vulnerability in your eyes.
Really? All right,
Yeah.
okay. Nope.
There, yeah, I see it.
Okay, all right,
there,
okay,
there,
there you
windows
go.
to the soul.
The reason we want to have Jane here, she's besides being a secret techie, which over the years,
Sort of.
and we wanted to talk a little bit about. We're going to start talking about Netflix and things that you're doing. One of the things I write about is the sort of the shift in Hollywood, the shift in everything. So talk a little bit about your Netflix show, your recent one, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Oh, that's Amazon.
Amazon. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Amazon. Sorry.
Well, here, I don't really
Thank
have
you for that.
an interesting techie answer because it's all the same work.
Right.
I heard, just did an episode of The Marvelous Miss Maisel a couple of weeks ago, and I heard Dan Palladino, who's the writer, say that most people are going to be watching this on their phones, yet they go to all this trouble to light it beautifully, and we're doing the same work. So I really don't have an interesting technical answer.
But not a technical answer, but from a perspective of someone. Now you've worked for a network, you've done movies, you sort of brought up in the traditional Hollywood system, even though you did a lot of indies before that.
Right, exactly.
Right, because when I met you, you were sort of vaguely famous. You had been in a lot of those, you know what I mean?
Vaguely, yes.
Like we would be walking, we'd be walking in like Sundance, do you remember? And people would be like this, and then remember you from the dog movie and things like that. But then it took off with Glee when you had a national, it was a big network show.
Exactly.
And you were fantastic in it.
Thank you.
How do you look at these tech companies coming in and hiring you, like working for Amazon? I mean, they sell toilet paper also.
I know, but when I wish I had a better techie answer. When I worked for Fox, I didn't think about working for Fox. When I do The Marvelous Miss Maisel, I don't think about working for Amazon so much. But I will put a tech spin on how things have changed since I started acting in television, probably in the mid-90s, and now is you were expected to have a social media presence.
Yeah.
Now, not me so much because I'm an old person, but young people, they will cast someone who has 1 million more followers than another person, and maybe they're not the better actor. That it's definitely something that the businesses who are looking at their bottom line, like the Netflix and the Amazon, that's why you're seeing sometimes YouTube people get television shows.
How do you feel about that?
Every generation has its abomination. I know, like back in, you remember film people never did television. It was like, well, I'm not going to slum it in television. And now you can't keep the film people away from television. It's a golden age for television now.
Right.
The best writing and some of the best artistic product out there. And, movies aren't so much,
So it's good for actors, I guess, that there all this money from Google or whether it's from Netflix.
Interesting about Netflix, though, you can't get rich like you used to doing a network show.
Explain the rich part. Go ahead.
There is a fixed amount of money every actor makes on a Netflix series. So if you're like I'm sure if you're a star, a big star, you'll see them in the producer credits, and you'll see that they've directed a few. That's how they supplement and make the big money. But Netflix has a scale. So if you are in the episode and you are in a majority of it, you get, I don't know exactly the number, but let's just say, because I don't know what the number is, let's just say $100,000 an episode, which is nothing to sneeze at, of course. But say you only have one line, you might only get $10,000. And I don't know if these are the numbers. Don't quote me on this, please. But so like I saw a fellow actor, and I said, hey, congratulations on your Netflix series. It's doing really well. And she said, yeah, but I'm not getting rich. And because, of course, we're in this to get rich, like you are. But in the network shows, every year you get a raise, you get a bump. And if the show does well, you get a nice raise. Like the Friends, the show Friends, they started out probably $20,000-$30,000 an episode. again, nothing to sneeze at. But by the end of it, they were making $1 million an episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So when the shifting nature of Hollywood, we just had this Les Moonves stepping down for being a pig in so many ways.
I know,
it seems like
unbelievable. What was that article you were referencing?
Oh,
Linda
Bloodworth
Thomas. That was just
it's
shocking. It's in the Times today.
It was in the Hollywood Reporter.
Hollywood. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think the big line was, besides comparing him to Charlie Manson, she did note that she said what happened to her. She was a big TV producer.
Designing women,
a whole bunch of
Nightshade,
Nightshade. And she said, someone asked her what happened to her, and she said, Les Moonves happened to me. But when you look at Hollywood and how it's changed, what has shifted? I mean, you talk a little bit about social media. You're really active on social media.
Sort of. I just deleted my Twitter app.
You did?
I did, just for a while.
Why? What happened?
I'm losing my life to this political climate and babies in cages, and I can't anymore. I have to let it go for a little bit.
And what do you mean losing your life?
I'm sorry?
Losing your life, that you spent a lot of time...
I'm MSNBC's here, Twitter's here, and my heart is being pulled out of my chest. So I'm just, for my own mental health, and I'm not good to anybody when I'm, emotionally overwrought.
Okay.
And I'm not a productive member of society, so I had to pull it back. And I'm not checking Twitter. I haven't in like 2 weeks.
Oh, that's good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, I know.
But when you think of your career, do you feel like you have to do that? Like, do you have to have Instagram or you have to do Twitter?
I don't feel I have to,
right.
but I'm a team player, and I do Hollywood Game Night, and they say, "Will you live tweet?" Yes, and it's not the most fun thing in the world to do.
Right.
Will you post this and will you post that? Sure. I mean, how hard is it for me to copy and paste what they send me and put it in my Twitter feed?
Right.
So, they ask you to do that, and absolutely I'll do something like that. But I know that it's in some people's contracts, especially the younger kids who are on like the CW shows.
Did that happen on Glee? Or not?
Well, this is interesting because Glee was the begin. Is this going to be all about me, or do we go talk about you?
No, we're not talking about me at all.
Okay. Because this is I'm probably a little more interesting at this point.
I love
They know all about you. No, that's okay. Let me finish that.
All right. Okay. Good.
So Glee was an interesting point in social media because it was just starting to take off.
Right.
It was 2010 when we did our pilot, and we had about 6 months between our pilot and our first episode, and it blew up in social media in those 6 months.
It did.
People started watching the pilot, which was online, and I think it was the first time. Fox released it online, and people watched it over and over again, and it whipped the audience into a froth, a social media froth. People were tweeting about it. The kids themselves, the actors, were tweeting about it. We were going to the kids were going to like malls, and but after year 3 they wouldn't do this anymore, but they were going like to malls all over America, and kids were showing up, and the whole selfie thing was just starting, and so the metrics of television completely changed, even though we still use the Nielsen's, which is kind of crazy that the networks use them still.
No, I do think you got quantumly famous. Like that's what happened. I remember walking in the Castro with you once, and it was insane. It was insane, and it was selfies and people wanting to pictures of you.
And I think Glee was I think if you look back, Glee was one of the first that was actually launched via social media.
Yes, absolutely. Empire. There were a couple of shows that did that.
And what was it?
Empire was
another one? Absolutely. Yeah, they came along a little later.
Yeah.
But I think that Glee was first because the music was also released on iTunes.
Right.
So as the episodes were airing, people were, it brought Foreigner back. They started from, Journey, I'm sorry, Journey, Don't Stop Believing. They started touring again because that song got so famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well. Yeah. So how do you look when you're deciding what to do? You don't care if it's for Amazon? Not at all.
I don't even.
And your agents don't think like that? They're
not
these
at
idiot
all.
internet people are here with bags of money.
Look, I have a very small agency. I'm with a very small agency, and I've had the same agent for 16 years. And he doesn't care if I work or not. He really doesn't.
Okay.
And we have a very healthy professional relationship. So I don't have that kind of pressure on me to keep going. And I ran into a girl who was in I won't say what she's in. It's a terrible thing to do. But anyway, she was in a big sitcom, and it was coming to an end, and it was a big hit. And her agents were like mapping out what she should do next. And oh no, don't do this charity, do that charity. And she was like this, she didn't know what to do. She didn't have any instincts anymore.
Right.
Because they were trying to build something for her, which included a lot of technology and so her presence in social media. And she was way over her head. She had no idea what she was doing. She just looked like a deer caught in the headlight and not an actress looking for her next role.
Right. Did you think about that when Glee was ending? Because that was such a mega global
Like
hit.
when it ended?
Yeah, when it ended.
What would I do?
No, what happened? Like, how did you then think about that? You didn't do something like that, right?
Oh, no.
You didn't
no.
suddenly start an internet fashion company, for example.
No, I did
recall.
not.
Yes.
What I did do is I went right to another series, and it was on CBS. And now, it wasn't the greatest show in the world. It was called Angel from Hell, and I loved it. I thought it was really sweet. And it was about two women. And we were gone in like 5 episodes. And it was good enough. It's better than a lot of the stuff that they keep. But if you looked at CBS in the last couple of years, it's all men's shows.
Yes, that was the point.
It's so male dominated in the CSIs and the sitcoms. The bringing back Kevin. What was his name? I'm sorry. Yeah, bringing back Kevin James, and Matt LeBlanc had a sitcom, and they like took every guy and whatever and threw him against the sitcom wall and to see what would stick, but no women.
It's a sitcom wall.
Well, yeah. and they didn't stick. They didn't last very long, but well, we were gone in a flash, and
which the speed has, like, if you don't make it, correct?
I wonder. Here I'm going to claim sexism, but it might have been.
Right
like
ahead.
I said, I'm not saying it was like the greatest work of art in the world, but it was better than a lot of stuff that was on.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that. Of course, lately I'm thinking about it, going, maybe that's why we were canceled, because we're girls. I don't know. I have no idea. But it was a Nina Tassler show.
Yes.
Nina was the head of television at the time, and she's fantastic.
Answer. How is that? How does it, being a woman in Hollywood all these years? And
I don't know.
Yeah. Because you're a tall gay? Why?
I've made a career of playing men's roles.
Right. Okay.
I had an agent who was smart enough to say, hey, for this doctor and this guest star on Empty Nest or Party of Five, will you see a woman? And they go, yeah, sure. And then I would get it, and they feel like they get cast out of the box.
Right.
And so I kind of have made a career out of playing roles originally written for men. So I really don't have a female perspective. I don't play an ingenue. I'm very tall and lesbian and.
Okay. Are you coming back to the L Word reunion?
I hope so.
Yeah, you'll play the lawyer.
Are they doing? Yeah.
Yeah, you'll play the lawyer.
I'm sorry?
You'll play the lawyer.
I played a lawyer with,
and
Sybil Shepherd was my lady.
How was that?
Oh, that was so uncomfortable. No, she's great. It was uncomfortable for her. I'm thinking about the two of us in bed with nipple pasties on, wearing nothing but boxer shorts and trying to act like we're in love. And it was that's all I can remember of it, how uncomfortable it was. It was very uncomfortable.
You never told me that.
Very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I remember. That's all I remember. But
I like to ask the follow.
Is it going to be a series?
I don't know. We'll see. It could be just.
It'll be on Showtime.
Could be. It could be just on a phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I've seen.
Yeah, I
the
heard
arrows.
Rumblings of it about a year ago. I just was wondering.
I think it's going to be all the old lesbians helping the young lesbians. That's the plot.
Okay.
I think that's really the plot. I think that's the premise.
Yeah.
And they sit around and go, oh, I know how that's going to end.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
With Jenny being murdered.
Yeah. Poor Jenny.
Jenny. She just wrote
The
me.
hate lives on, right?
Right. She just emailed me. I don't know what for. So talk a little bit about Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes.
This Amazon show. You got an Emmy nomination for it, correct?
I did, yes.
For your thing. explain that, doing that, because I thought I binge watched it. I hadn't watched it. It was a big hit, and it got viral, and everyone says you got to watch it, and that's how people are now. They watch everything in these big chunks. And I literally was sitting at home at like 2 a.m, like one episode, and then you pop up, and I had no idea you were there. I think I texted you like, "What the fuck are you doing there, Jane?" Talk about that and the thinking behind that show and what you were trying to do.
You mean like in terms of create nothing to do with tech, no tech?
No
angle?
tech. You don't have to make a tech angle.
Well,
Unless there was one. Was there an iWatch that helped you with that character?
Well, what I love about it is such a throwback. It's old school, and I love the wardrobe, and they're so good with this. I mean, it's like the best artisans in New York City are building the clothes from scratch a lot of the time. All my wardrobe has a label with my name, Ms. Lynch, in it. It's beautiful. The fabrics are beautiful. Even the background actors look fantastic. The sets are beautiful. The acting is glorious, and the writing is wonderful. It's just wonderful. I'm a guest actor, so I'm not a part of.
Well, explain your role for those who.
Yeah. Oh, sure. I play Sophie Lennon, and she's a comic, and she's old school. Like the Borscht Belt, she's a housewife from Queens, and all her jokes are about how fat she is, and how many husbands she's had, and how much she likes to eat. And she's a washerwoman. She wears like an old dress and
housecoat.
A house coat, yes. And her set is just an ironing board behind her with an iron and a fake kitchen. So it's like have set, will travel. Yeah. So she's obviously been doing this shtick for years. But she's
Were you pulling Fanny Bryce?
Yeah, kind of like Fanny Bryce, kind of like, I'm ugly, I can't help it. And so that's how she was brought up in the entertainment world, that women can't be funny unless they're making fun of themselves physically, emotionally, and as like shrews. So she, wanted to be successful, so she bought into this whole thing. And she's quite successful at it. She's made a lot of money, and she lives in a beautiful brownstone in Manhattan, and when she's not in the fat suit and the house coat, she wears beautiful clothing, and she kind of I use Eleanor Parker from The Sound of Music, the Baroness, if you remember her, as kind of my my inspiration for that aspect of her character. She's very smug and self-satisfied and erudite. And so complete contrast. So an actor's dream, really.
It was brilliant, actually. The part of the butler, you and the butler.
Oh, isn't he wonderful? Yeah. Doors.
Yeah.
My first line to him is the light caustic in the blue room? I'll check, ma'am. Yes.
So what happens in this season? Can you tell us at all?
Well, Rachel Brosnahan.
She did a set where she insulted you.
Yeah, and she insulted me. And she's the lead. You would think that I was the lead of the show from the way I'm communicating. She's actually the lead. She's in every episode, and it's about her. And neither here nor there. But she's a comic coming up, and she's not at all commenting on her appearance or her marriage status or her body. She's kind of observational. She's an observational comic, and it's working. People are loving it. She's crass. She swears, and she starts in like the downtown clubs, and the audiences love her. And she's trying to, Alex Borstein plays her lesbian-esque manager, and who I think is in love with her. And she's really aggressive and ambitious for Rachel's character, Midge. And they start working their way to respectability, to Midtown.
Right.
And of course, my character's persona is kind of in vogue, but she's starting to blow all of us away. Right. So she humiliates me in public, and then I exact my revenge in the second episode.
Okay.
And the second season, and leaving it open for the third season. I think I'll be back.
Oh man, that would be great.
Yeah.
So we're going to take some questions from the audience.
Absolutely.
In a second, but I wanted to very quickly talk about just your things that you like, Techie, because you're not doing Twitter now, but you've got an
I
Apple Watch
will. I mean, and let me tell you, I'm doing a show at the Carlisle Hotel this week in the cafe with Kate Flannery, who was Meredith the Drunk in The Office. So if you're
Yeah.
interested in coming by, we're there every night at
Yeah.
8 o'clock.
That's very analog of you.
Yeah,
Singing
yes.
and dancing.
And I'm actually tweeting about that.
Okay. So you have an Apple Watch. But
I have an
you're
Apple
not
Watch.
technical at all, right? Hillary Rosen behind stage told me she was the one who gave you your
She
first
bought
iPhone.
me my first iPhone, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, I'm in and out of, like, I hate when this tells me to stand up.
Right.
Do you get that? It's fuck you. Stand up. You're getting fat. But I love counting my steps.
Yeah.
I adore counting my steps in New York because I walk everywhere.
Yeah, you
I've
do.
walked 12 miles a day.
Yeah.
And I check, oh, yeah. Yeah.
But you don't really jump into it. Right now there's a big techlash against tech companies. Do you think about that at all? The impact, the addiction, things like that?
Oh, I do. And I see kids in restaurants and the obliviousness of the parents where they don't have headphones on and the kids are playing some game with the volume up and I just I know I sound like an old lady, but I can't see how that's good.
What about the impact? Like I'm thinking of like Roseanne, like just Norm Macdonald just got in trouble because he made
Oh, I
one
know.
comment.
He can't shut up.
Yeah, he can't.
He's got to put his shut up.
Yeah. But what about Roseanne tweeting out the thing?
Well,
about-
you know what? Here's the thing. I think a lot of people who tweet out and I think it brings out the worst in us. It brings out the best in us. I've been moved to tears of joy and love reading some things that people tweet and also some of the stuff that people say that is just so bloody awful. And I think, like Roseanne Day, she is mentally ill.
Right.
And it would be better if she didn't tweet, but she does. It would be better if the inhabitant of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue didn't act out his mental illness on Twitter for all of us. But this isn't a political free zone, is it? No, of course not.
Yeah.
So I think it
This
brings
is
out
his
the
base
worst.
right here.
Right. Yeah. I think it brings out the worst and the best of us. It really does, and it's up to the individual each time. I'm so glad we have it. I love it. I love being able to connect with people like that. I don't like talking on the phone.
Yeah.
I do everything via text and yeah.
Yeah.
And
All
the
right.
amount we get done in a day, by the way, people, compared
Right.
to what we did just 10 years ago.
Right. I'd
what
rather
we
it
can
be
get
10
done
years
in
ago.
a day.
But questions from the audience for Jane. We just have a few
Or
minutes.
for Kara.
None for Kara. Kara loves Twitter. Great. Go ahead.
Yes,
right
sir.
here.
So I helped you at the Mac store, at the Apple store at the Grove several years ago. I was buying a bunch of stuff, and I was there with my husband, and he asked me a question.
Did you think he was a
I was
genius?
spending all my money.
You look like you knew, I'm sure.
A little bit. What do you think the impact, we talked a little bit about Glee, but as a gay man, as a Gen Xer, watching that, it gave me hope for the future, and just kind of the overall impact of Ryan Murphy and
Yes.
the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
How do you see that impacting us as a queer community?
Well, he does
got a
a
big-
lot.
you guys got a
He's
big
got a
Netflix.
friggin' empire.
Oh, all right.
Oh, okay. I'll repeat the question. He said, "How do you think the Glee and then Ryan Murphy in general has impacted the gay and lesbian experience in this country, in the world?" Ryan's all over the place in terms of the types of shows he does.
He just signed a big Netflix deal.
Yeah,
$300
he just got a big
million.
Netflix deal,
Yeah.
and he walks his talk. 50% of his crew is female. If he can't, we were at an award show once, and he said, "Does anybody know a female gaffer who's available? Because I can't find one." And he got a bunch of names. He's committed to inclusion. His shows have characters across the spectrum, all walks of humanity. And I think that I don't know how you measure that kind of impact, but I think it's pretty huge. And I think for Glee was kind of a microcosm of what he does. It was full of all sorts of different people. Kind of, you could find your own archetype in there. Like there were a lot of young girls who identified with Chris Colfer's gay kid character, and of course a lot of gay kids who got a lot of strength from his character. Kevin McHale played the kid in the wheelchair, and a lot of kids who live in wheelchairs could relate to him, but also there was something about his personality that kids who aren't in wheelchairs were able to relate with. So I think that everybody had someone, if not 2 or 3 different characters, they could relate to on a deep soul level. And I think that's why it was so successful. And then they all get together once a day, go into a room where they're very safe, they have each other's back, and they raise their voice in song. What's more satisfying than that? Nothing. And that's why adults loved it too.
And then you would look on in the shadows, angry and yet compelled.
And of course Sue Sylvester was not originally in the pilot, and the head of the network at the time, Kevin Riley, said you got to have a villain. So they created Sue Sylvester, and they made her ridiculous and extreme. And actually, she's kind of based on Ryan. Ryan is that way too. Ryan's always claiming fatwas. Who's on his enemies list? But he always does it with a smile and a smirk. But Sue was dead serious.
Yeah. Little known fact: Ryan Murphy and I were interns at the Washington Post together.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
He did not like anybody there. And
he knew he was destined for better things.
Yeah, he did actually. He did.
Oh, I'm sure, as you did.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
But he said it much more than I did. Okay, 2 more quick questions. Over here, right here, and then. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Here and then here. You go first.
Yeah. Yeah. She asked how I brought up mental health and how do I stay grounded in this world? And it's the same way that you guys stay grounded. I don't take anything personally. I mean, if I do, it's okay, honey, and then I get over it. I don't have any goals or ambitions. I don't.
She doesn't. You don't.
I
don't.
Yeah, I really don't. Life has done so well for me in spite of my goals and ambitions. Where it's really just a flow. I don't necessarily buy cause and effect so much.
You remember when you were talking about the Lee plot? And we were at my house in the kitchen, and you were in that Party of 5 thing, or Party of whatever. The party show that was sort of a series.
A Party Down.
Party Down.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know, it's this interesting show about these kids who sing, and maybe it'll work out for me. And I'm like, oh, it sounds good.
Yeah. Exactly. And it was kind of a cult hit. But I just do what feels good. If my goals, whatever my goals were, I'm so glad that I didn't get them. And there's something deep inside of me that knows that making goals is kind of a silly thing. I mean, it's nice to have a checklist during the day, and believe me, I do. I love writing lists. It gives me a false sense of control. But so I check it off and check it off and check it off. Yeah, I'll make it at this time, I'll leave at this time, and blah blah. But ultimately, life is just flowing, man. It's just flowing.
All right. Okay, right here. Last question. Oh, not for a while. London Breed just became.
I will be your campaign manager for sure.
Honestly, I don't know. San Francisco's gone round the bend. I got to tell you, it's like, I know it's like urine 24/7. I came back from DC recently, and literally I was like, urine everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just this.
You're omnipresent.
Yes.
Yes.
The urine is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Right here. Last question.
Murder, She Wrote? I don't think I was, but I've been in a lot of 90s television shows, but...
Detective or police, police investigator, something of that nature. Mm-hmm. How do you choose your role?
If I get them. She asked me how I choose my roles.
Yeah.
If I get them, really, truly. I might be in more of a position now where I don't do everything that's offered to me. But, in the 90s, it was, you have an audition. Yes! And you get in there and you read for it and get called back. Yes! And then they call you, you got the job. Yes! It's not like, well, you know what? No, I don't think I want that job. I think I'll wait for the next, investigator who has 3 lines on, CSI or whatever. No, I never really chose.
All right, last question for the goalless Jane, who doesn't want to do anything. What would you like to do?
What, honey?
What would you like to do?
Nothing. No. Hey, you know what I love doing is doing the show at the Carlisle is so much fun.
Yeah.
And and when Sophie Lennon came across my desk, as they say, I was like, oh my God, I want to do this. But yeah, I don't have any desires for anything.
Just death.
Yeah. I'm waiting for death.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. You want to answer one more question? Because I know we got to go. Right here. Very last question. What? Sides. I'm sorry. Okay, right there.
Hey, saying hi to you.
Oh, hi. Who's that?
Oh, hi. I guess I called on you. Hi, honey. Please do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. She said I tend to play aggressive and powerful people. Yeah, I think that's just the vibe I give off. And it's not necessarily 100% true, for sure. But it tends to be, when I was young, there's something about being tall and just the way I carry myself.
That must be nice.
Yeah, right. See, you don't. When you had to be scrappy and work for, you'd say, "Hey, listen to me, listen to me."
Yeah,
and
that's
people
it.
were listening to me when I was like 12 years old. I was about
Actually,
6 foot tall, and I would walk into a room, and I would start to say something like, "Well, I think," and I hear the room go quiet, and it was almost like Merrill Lynch says. Remember that commercial?
Yeah.
And I noticed people were like listening to me, and it usually made my voice go very soft.
So you're essentially answering your question. Yeah, you were always playing a lesbian.
Yeah, or at least a suspected one, for
A
sure.
suspected lesbian. Yeah. Recently, someone met me for the first time and realized how tiny I am, and they said, "Oh, you write tall," which I felt was
You do
insulting
write
to
tall.
short. Short is good.
Yeah, short is
Anyway.
fantastic.
Jane Lynch, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Have fun. Hey, honey.